Everyone knows Odysseus as the brilliant, legendary Greek hero who won the Trojan War with a giant wooden horse. But Hollywood leaves out the parts that make you realize his life was a total disaster from day one. To start, Odysseus didn't even want to go to war. When the Greek kings came to recruit him, he literally acted crazy, plowing his own fields with salt just to avoid going. But they caught him, dragged him to Troy, and he spent 10 brutal years stuck in the mud, heat, and blood, missing his wife and newborn son. When the war finally ended, all he wanted was to sail home to Ithaca. It should have been a simple 2-week boat ride. Instead, it turned into a 10-year, horrifying nightmare that killed every single person who followed him. Odysseus set sail with 12 ships full of battle-weary men, but his crew was completely brainless. Their first major stop was the island of the Cyclops, a giant one-eyed monster named Polyphemus. Instead of grabbing food and leaving like a smart captain, Odysseus wanted to stick around to see what gift the monster would give them. Great idea, Cap. Polyphemus trapped them in his cave with a giant boulder and started eating Odysseus's men 2 at a time like chicken nuggets. To escape, Odysseus had to get the giant drunk on wine, drive a red-hot wooden stake directly into his single eye, and tie his remaining men to the bellies of giant sheep to sneak out of the cave. But because Odysseus couldn't keep his mouth shut, he shouted his real name to the blind giant as they sailed away. Bad move. Polyphemus was the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea, and Poseidon made it his personal life mission to destroy Odysseus's entire life. Despite the ocean god hating them, they actually got a miracle. They landed on the floating island of Aeolus, the god of the winds. Aeolus felt bad for Odysseus and handed him a magic leather bag containing all the wild, stormy winds of the world, leaving only a gentle breeze to blow them straight home. They sailed for 9 days. They were so close to home that Odysseus could literally see the beach fires of Ithaca. Exhausted, Odysseus finally fell asleep. And what did his loyal crew do? They thought the bag was full of secret gold Odysseus was hiding from them. They sliced the bag open. Instantly, 10 years of trapped hurricane winds exploded out, blowing their entire fleet all the way back across the Mediterranean Sea. Before they could recover, they stumbled into the land of the Laestrygonians, a race of giant, terrifying cannibals. The giants threw massive boulders from the cliffs, smashing 11 of Odysseus's 12 ships to pieces and spearing the drowning crew like shish kebabs. Just like that, 11 ships were gone. With only 1 ship left, they reached the island of Circe, a powerful witch. She invited the crew to a giant feast, drugged their food, and turned them all into literal, squealing pigs. Odysseus had to eat a magical herb given to him by the god Hermes just to keep his human mind, confront the witch, and force her to turn his men back. After wasting a whole year on her island, they had to cross a narrow sea strait guarded by 2 legendary monsters, Charybdis, a giant whirlpool that swallowed ships whole, and Scylla, a horrific 6-headed monster living on a cliff. Odysseus had to make a cold-blooded calculation. If he fought the whirlpool, everyone died. So he intentionally sailed closer to the 6-headed monster, standing silently on the deck as Scylla reached down and snatched 6 of his men right off the boat, screaming his name as they were eaten alive. The surviving crew was traumatized, starving, and exhausted. They landed on the island of the sun god, Helios. Odysseus warned them, "Do not touch the sacred cows on this island, or we will die." But while Odysseus was sleeping, his starving crew slaughtered the divine cattle anyway. The sun god went furious and demanded revenge. The second they put their ship back into the water, Zeus blasted their boat with a giant, blinding bolt of lightning. The ship exploded into splinters. Every single crew member drowned in the dark, stormy water. Odysseus was the only survivor. He clung to a piece of driftwood for days, floating aimlessly until he washed up on the island of Calypso, a lonely nymph goddess. She fell in love with him and kept him as a romantic hostage for 7 long years. Every single morning, Odysseus sat on the rocky beach, staring at the horizon, crying his eyes out, wishing he was home. Finally, the gods took pity on him and ordered Calypso to let him go. After building a tiny wooden raft, surviving yet another shipwreck, and washing ashore naked on a friendly island, Odysseus finally stepped foot on Ithaca after 20 long years. But his homecoming was not a happy celebration. Over 100 arrogant, violent men had invaded his palace, eating his food, drinking his wine, and trying to force his wife Penelope to marry one of them. Looking like a dirty, homeless beggar, Odysseus sneaked into his own house, strung his ancient heavy bow that no other man could bend, and locked every single door to the main hall. He dropped his beggar disguise, lined up an arrow, and turned his own dining room into an absolute bloodbath, taking down every single suitor to reclaim his home and his family. It took 20 years, the destruction of 12 ships, and the death of hundreds of men just for one guy to get back home from work. So, do you still want to be Odysseus?